to finish up this unit on trig, we have one more solution strategy for calculating missing sides in triangles. Again, let's go over what we know. You know that you can use trig if you have a 90-degree angle. You can use sine law. When can you use sine law? Well, if you have the key for sine law was you needed the angle and its opposite side. And then either you had another angle or you had another side. Alright? Sometimes you don't have that though. Alright, take a look at this first example. Here, you don't have the side opposite the angle, and then you just have two more sides. Sine law would not work there. Okay? Here, again, you have the side, but you don't have the angle. Alright, and then you have two other sides. You do not have the situation for sine law. Okay, so another strategy is needed. This is called the cosine law. Okay, and this formula looks even more complex, but I'll tell you right now, you don't need them. You don't need to look at this. Alright, here's what I want you to notice. I want you to notice that if you're finding or dealing with side A, you have to include angle A. If instead you're starting with side B, you would include angle B, and so on. So that's how we're going to deal with these questions. We're going to figure out which side and angle we need, and then we're just going to fill in the other parts. Okay? So, when can you use cosine law? Well, look at this one. Don't have the opposite side. Can't use sine law, so we'll use cos law. Here, you actually don't have any angle, so there you're going to use cos law. Okay? So, let's try a question. So if this was a test question and it said solve, you would say, oh, here's my angle. Do I have the side across? I do not, so this is not a sine law question. So let's write out the formula for cos law. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of A. Now, I didn't think about which one should I write. Should I start with A? Should I start with B? Should I start with C? Because I don't even see A, B, C here. Alright? Instead, I'm going to plug this in just like I did with sine law. If I'm going to use this angle, that's angle P, okay, that means I'm going to start with P over here. Alright? And then B and C, they're the other two sides. It doesn't actually even matter what order I write these in. Okay, so what I did here is I said this is P, this is Q, this is R, Q, R, P. So that's my formula. This one is a little crazy. You can just punch this whole thing in the calculator. Okay, so let's do that. Alright, and I get P squared is 97 point. Now there's a whole bunch of decimals there. I'm going to leave them all in the calculator because I'm not finished. That's not P, that's P squared. So now I'm going to take the square root button to see if I can figure that out. And so I get P is 9.877, so I'm going to write 9.9 centimeters. And looking at the picture, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so that's cos law. Alright, you see if you can figure this out. I'm going to start by just writing a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos of A. And you change those letters to make sense for this question. Okay, go ahead and do that. Okay, so this time I have p squared is 612.06, etc., etc. And so then I'm going to take the square root, and I get 24.7 centimeters this time. Okay, pretty straightforward. The formula you're given, so you don't need to memorize it. You just have to figure out how to plug it in. Okay, we'll try a couple more like that. Okay, again, I'm not really concerned about what this triangle looks like, so I'm going to go K, M, N. I've done this every time the same way. KM is 16, KN is 11, MN is 6. Determine the measure of angle M. So that's this one. Okay, so if I want angle M at the end, I know that I have to start off with M squared. The other two are K squared plus N squared minus 2KN cos M. Okay, really these are just the extra parts. The key is you have to match these two. Okay, so we get 6 squared equals, oops, I don't have that right, 11 squared equals 6 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 6 times 16. And guess you'll notice where the missing part is. This one's a little harder. How do I get cos by itself? Well, you're just going to use algebra. Okay, let's figure out some of these. Okay, now be careful, this is all multiplied together, so let's actually multiply that together. 96 times 2 is 192 cos M. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to take away a 36 from both sides. I'm going to take away 256 from both sides. Let's do that first. So I get negative 171 is negative 192 cos M. A common mistake here would be to have put this all together first. Why can't I do that? Well, the problem is there's a multiplication here. Okay, so we're now going to divide by negative 192. Okay, and so you get decimal 890, I don't know, let's write it out, decimal 890 dot dot dot. This is cos of M, so M is the second function of that. And you should get 27.0 degrees, so we'll go 27 degrees. Okay? Last question for this, oh no, there's one more. Second last question for this unit. STU, ST is 16, SU is 20, TU is 6. Determine the measure of all the angles to the nearest degree. Solve for the angles using cos law only. Okay. Or in the decreasing order from the largest angle to the smallest angle. Well, which is the largest angle going to be? It's going to be this one. How do I know that? Because the side across from it is the biggest. Okay, so I'm going to start with t squared is s squared plus u squared minus 2 times su cos of capital T. Okay, so 20 squared equals 6 squared plus 16 squared minus 2 times 6 times 16 cos of T. Okay, and you could probably do this all in your calculator, but I just like to write it out so I kind of keep a visual of it. Alright, so I'm going to subtract 36 and 256 from 400. It's going to give me 108, I think. 256 plus 36, 286, 292. Yeah. So 108 is negative 192 cos of t. So then we're going to divide by negative 192. And we get negative 0.5625. And then I'm going to take second cos. Now I know I told you never use a negative when you're taking the inverse to solve an angle, but that's when we're dealing with the unit circle. Here I just want the one angle. The calculator can deal with that. It can find one angle. So it's going to be 124 degrees. Okay. Oh, it said solve it, right? Yeah, solve. So now let's pick the second angle to find. I think we're going to find angle U because it's going to be the second biggest one. Okay, and we'll do that again. U squared is t squared plus s squared minus 2ts cos of u. So 16 squared equals 20 squared plus 6 squared minus t times 20 times 6 cos of u. I don't have the angle. Okay, so this is 240 cos of u. If we subtract 436, you end up with negative 180 equals negative 240 cos u. So we'll divide by 240, and you get 0.75 is cos u. U is going to be 41 degrees. Okay, and so then S will be 180, take away 124, take away 41, which is 15 degrees. Okay. Now, is this going to be a cos law question or a sine law question? Well, there is no side A, so I can't use sine law. This will again be cos law. Okay, so I'll leave that one for you to try. If you'd like, you can check with your buddies to see if you got the same answer. But I think you kind of get the idea here. Alright, there is also the review in the textbook. You can also do the practice test. And then I would like you to submit. So this one is textbook, this practice test. I would like you to submit the practice test that I've posted. Okay? I do need you to keep up, so you have to submit these. So when you're finished, please do that. Alright, good luck.